You're listening to the Outdoors Group podcast. This podcast is a call to arms to get children and young people outside again. It's your one-stop shop for all things outdoor, child, young person and education related. Thanks for tuning in. In this episode, we're on tour again, and this time I'm delighted to be at the Apricot Centre in Totnes. I'm here to talk to Mark O'Connell and Hannah Walker. Mark is a process-oriented child psychotherapist, wellbeing manager and director of the Apricot Centre, and Hannah's a forager, dietitian, nutritionist and a member of their farm and wellbeing teams. The Apricot Centre is an organic, biodynamic, that's a hard word to say, regenerative farm selling fresh farm produce and flowers, as well as a land-based education and wellbeing service. I'm so excited to be here and to have this conversation with you guys, so thanks for letting me come.
Thank you. Great. And thanks for helping out, working with the team, with all the people who are here visiting.
You're welcome. I didn't do very much.
She did. She hands-on.
So although I've given a brief, somewhat rushed overview of what the Apricot Centre is, can you give us a bit of a deeper dive into its history and why it was set up and what it aims to do?
Okay. So in a potted history is that my wife Marina and I sort of been together for quite a long time. I trained as a psychotherapist, and she was originally an organic fruit grower,
okay.
And then she did an MEC in environmental conservation, environment and ecology, and we had a farm in Essex. And I was working in the NHS with children, mostly adopted and looked after children. And Marina was developing the most incredible 4-acre farm from scratch. It was a small holding, but it was a biodynamic farm. And she just turned what was just a bare patch of briar-filled land to the most abundant farm, a fruit farm that you can imagine in over a period of 10 to 15 years. And so when I was leaving the NHS, we began to do more work with children on the farm, and we've kind of always had slightly compatible sort of interests, and that's kind of we met actually in Devon here, okay. And we were very involved at Dartington. She worked for Dartington. She set up the original school farm.
Oh, okay.
She worked a lot with Schumacher College. I had a lot of involvement with Schumacher. So a lot of the things that we were interested in were all converging anyway. I think it's like an ecological, regenerative, sort of process-driven, nature-oriented kind of worldview in a way. And over time, through moving, we were invited to move to this place because the Biodynamic Land Trust, they buy bits of land using community shares to enable biodynamic sustainable farming to happen, and they asked us to do that, particularly Marina, because Marina was skilled in that area, and so we were invited to come and do that here, and we said we'd love to do that with a wellbeing service and combine everything that we're doing already in Essex. And so here we are on a 34-acre beautiful patch of land in Dartington. And this has been from scratch as well.
Has it? Completely? What was it like when you got here?
Well, when we got here, the soil is fairly poor. It had been mainstream farmed, chemically farmed. The soil wasn't great, actually, and it's rapidly transitioning. Marina's quite a specialist in soil sort of regeneration. So that whole, there's been many parts of the team have worked on that together. But it was a permaculture design. How do we work this farm and develop it? And then the whole thing has emerged from then.
Amazing. So what does your role at the centre look like?
What is it? My role looks like slightly too much bureaucracy. Because I'm the registered manager, so we're an adoption support service. We're Ofsted registered, and as such, it's quite involved in terms of the governance and the quality of the service. So we kind of have to put in a lot of things to make sure it's really well run. And we have an Ofsted rating of good, which we're happy with.
Brilliant.
And as a result, a lot of my work has been on kind of developing the systems that make this thing work alongside the rest of the business.
You're like the puppet master.
Yeah, a little bit.
In a nice way.
To be honest, it's a hard. Well, I love management and I love the journey of developing a business. My therapeutic work has taken a backseat. And I think there's also a creative side that is coming out in this garden here that actually I really just love playing in the garden and making incredible spaces with children and asylum seekers.
Yeah. Excellent. And Hannah, what brought you to the project and what does your role here look like?
I moved to Totnes about 2.5 years ago because of the Apricot Centre.
Oh, really?
I came across it through the Permaculture Association, I think. And it just sort of combined all of my interests. You know, I'd been volunteering in community gardens in London. I was working in the NHS as a paediatric dietitian. And then in my free time, I was leading foraging workshops, wild food cookery, and working for a plant-based cooking school. And I just rang up the wellbeing service here, and I said, I love what you do. Are there any opportunities? Thinking maybe I could come and volunteer for a couple of weeks in the summer. Yeah. Had a really long chat with Rachel, who was the head of wellbeing at the time, and yeah, we just chatted, and she's like, oh, I think you could fit here. Yeah. You know, you'd link. You know, I guess I was kind of linking the farm work with the well-being, because I was going to use the farm produce to cook and teach people about connecting to nature through their food. So I just took a gamble. I quit my job and I moved down.
Amazing.
And it's been the best thing I've ever done. Yeah. I've loved it being here. I love the diversity of the projects. Very early on, me and Mark started talking about this potential to do work with asylum seekers, and that really excited me, and it's now probably one of my favourite aspects of the work.
Is that bit,
It's very special, and the land here is very special, and being able to share that with people feels, I feel very lucky.
So your days are quite varied, what you do here?
Yeah, I mean, I work freelance, so I'm not here every day. I was here nearly every day when I first moved, because I did the traineeship that they offer here in regenerative land systems and food and farming. Okay. Which was great, because it kind of gave me a proper foundation in sort of organic growing and biodynamics and permaculture. But yeah, so I do work with a group of young people from a people referral unit. We do lots of nature connection work with them, kind of cooking, foraging. We've been in some woods recently, local woods, doing our sessions there, which has been great. And then I do this asylum seeker work, which I love, kind of tying in the kind of cultural aspects of food and tying that to the land. And then
today, say about what did you make today?
I was just about to say, tell us about your lunch that you made.
Still sort of munching away here. So we made a green borscht. So it's we know the Ukrainian red soup, very typical with beetroot. Yeah. But through doing some research, I came across the fact that originally one of the original soups was a green borscht, and they used a lot of different wild greens. Okay. So nettles, wild garlic, and sorrel. And as a forager and someone who loves exploring food from around the world, that was really exciting for me. So we foraged around the farm. We got a range of at least 6 or 7 different wild greens. Yeah. And kind of cooked it up into a big pot of soup, and then we used another wild plant called hogweed, common hogweed, not the giant one, which is quite toxic. Yeah. I was trying to show people about how to identify the different ones. Yes. And we got the shoots of hogweed, and I made a kind of tempura batter, and we battered that. And then one of our wonderful service users who comes as part with Devon and Cornwall Refugee Support, who's from Trinidad. Yeah. He made some fry bake, is what it's called. Fry bake. Which is like kind of fried dough, like a dumpling. Sort of dumpling-y. Yeah, so we had the like super healthy green citrusy soup, and then some yummy kind of fried stuff on the side. So it was really good fun, and it's been great seeing how the asylum seekers get involved and want to share them. And want to share their
recipes and stuff, that's amazing. So I actually heard about you guys because I was talking to someone who was on one of the courses learning about regenerative farming, which I think you just mentioned, of course. Can you tell me about the role you guys play in educating land workers and those kind of interested in permaculture? Those people are presumably the people that are helping to run the farm?
Yeah, we have an education team who are developed that out of. We started off with some permaculture course and biodynamic courses, and over time we've developed a whole curriculum which is accredited through Crossfields, and it's open source education actually, so it could be run in other places. And we do levels 2, 3 and 4 in land-based regenerative systems, and we still do the permaculture design courses and some biodynamic courses and some things around economics, circular economics and such like. But the movement is towards more fully engaged kind of regenerative farm training. Like people come, they work on other farms, they come and have a day's training, and then they actually go and apply it on the farms. And we're rapidly becoming a college.
Are you? That's amazing. How many people do you think each year are kind of doing that kind of education stuff?
I should know the figures, but it's some hundred. It's
really?
It's many hours, and I can't remember. I think it's over 100, but I can't quite remember the number.
And that's all year round, presumably.
There's different, like there's some short courses like boot camps. I think they're level 2 boot camps, which I think they're 6 weeks or something. I can't quite remember but there's boot camps, and then there's the longer time, and there's a full year training as well.
Amazing.
And at the other end of the spectrum, I teach little 5 and 6 year olds
about
food miles and organic farming.
Amazing.
So we spread the whole
spectrum. Is that from local schools?
Yeah,
and they just come in and do like a day at the farm.
Some of them just do short ones about seed sowing or food miles, and then other ones we do harvest and cooking.
Oh, that's amazing. Is that quite a few of the local schools in the area, or one in particular you've worked with?
Different schools.
We have funding for 25 school visits per year.
Okay, brilliant.
Government funding. So where possible, we try to bring in as many different schools who are interested, local and Plymouth and Exeter and Torbay.
Oh, that's amazing. Great that you got the funding as well to do it.
But I think that's a general thing for you can have farm visits. Funded.
So alongside being a working farm, we've mentioned a few of the different programs and projects that you run as well, and I'd love to hear a bit more about all of them. And so you were just mentioning about the work with the asylum seekers around food. Can you tell us what that kind of looks like and how it started?
So it started as a project in Plymouth, based in Plymouth. We partnered with an organisation called DBI, Diversity Business Incubator, who supported refugees and asylum seekers to set up their own businesses. And I think the sort of thought behind it was that we wanted to show people that they could make a living from working on the farm in this country as well, because a lot of the people we've worked with have had a background in farming from their countries, but they sort of some of them want to escape that, and others really loved it. And I guess we wanted to show them the different possibilities here, and the sort of benefit you get from feeling more grounded in the land here. So communities of the soil, it was about kind of finding your soil and connecting people to the fact that the crops that are grown in their countries can grow here, and so I was leading some community gardening sessions there, and we did some different cooking sessions and workshops, and we've sort of now brought it back to the farm, and are welcoming people to come here on a regular basis, now working with Devon and Cornwall Refugee Support. So we get a group of anywhere from 5 or 6 to, we had, I think on the first session we had 17 or 18 asylum seekers come. We have families, people from all over the world. We've worked with people from at least 15, 16 different countries, and we combine it with the gardening as well. So Mark's been kind of leading on this wellbeing garden that's evolving, week on week, which is really exciting. And then I've been leading kind of cultural cooking sessions. I try and sort of rotate it amongst the different countries and really empower our service users to say, what food do you want to cook from your country? And some of them are really competent chefs or cooks, and they just take the lead, and I say, what ingredients do you want me to get? And some of them we can go and harvest direct, and others, we buy in, and it's just really lovely to see them sort of in their elements. And
and do you have some of them that are coming back like session on session on session, over and over? And we've got to know a few of them who are really keen cooks, so I'm like, right, Ricky, you take the lead today, or Amir, you can take the lead today, and we'll do Iranian food or Jamaican food,
So it's really nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
And I suppose, just to add to that from the communities of the soil work, we're now working on a project we're calling Diversity in Gardens, which is not only focused on asylum seekers and refugees, it's diversity in general.
Yeah.
And it's about access to land and nature, and I think there's kind of like phases of this. One is just the connection, the kind of well-being aspect of being in nature, and so even with the asylum seekers and refugees, it wasn't always about the livelihood. Sometimes it was just about, being in your body, feeling well, designing spaces that you can thrive in, or children and people can thrive in. And then, but with this new project, we also want to see if we can create avenues for people who can develop a livelihood, or who can come and sort of like learn the skills of farming here in this garden. They might already have the skills of farming, but they might come on the courses with translation, and then we can also help them to find directions into working on the land, farming, landscaping, etc. Because it is an area that's actually, it needs people, and it needs people who won't be exploited, but people who can be employed in that area. So we're working on that, and because the people who come are just so inspired and so full of energy, and we just like to engage that and see where it goes.
Sounds amazing. And so it's a wellbeing garden you've been working on with them today, isn't it?
And this is just a particular project. Like 2 or so years ago, some permaculture design students on our training, there was 3 groups of them, and they all designed this garden independently through interviews with me and the team, and they came up with different designs, and we combined the designs, and then I just began to build the garden. And it's been, it's a good 2 years in the build. It's been very kind of muddy and just empty space. We've put these two, a pod and a mocky. But the mocky is this kind of modern, we're in this slightly Scandinavian wooden glassed front building, whereas the pod is this kind of, it's a bit like a shepherd's hut, or an upside down boat, which looks like an insect, I would say. So it's got these antennae and buggle eyes. So these 2 spaces we work with children in and families. So this is kind of the therapy space, but the garden, the wellbeing garden, is based upon ideas of connection with the elements. That we're all part of nature and elementally connected, and so the hope is that children will come to the garden, feel inspired, a place for their curiosity, playful. Children running past,
as if it was orchestrated.
Sort of like playfulness, creativity, connection with senses and the environment, and that it's a little bit of an enclosed space. So that it holds.
Hold that space for them,
And just a little bit to add on that is that we then were approached by some landscapers who were doing Chelsea Flower Show, and they're making a microbiome garden full of flowers that are edible plants and flowers, which are good for the gut biome, and that the health benefits to mental health and the physical health. So their beautiful garden fits perfectly like a glove over this garden. And so we're going to, in a month's time, we're going to have this beautiful gut biome sculptured wall made out of wood.
Oh, incredible.
And this hut, this kind of hexagonal hut. And all of these flowers are going to be planted in. So that's why we're really working hard to get the template
done. I was going to ask you about the microbiome garden, because I've only heard about this concept of the microbiome from my work in the birth world, and we're talking about babies needing to be seeded, and then mum's microbiome. I was like, I don't know how that applies to a garden. So
Hannah's also knows a lot about the microbiome.
So tell me about how it's translating to the garden.
It takes me back to my first degree, which is in human biology. My whole dissertation was on sort of the microbiome and probiotics. So it's like amazing that everything seems to be linking up. And I've been sort of really passionate about gut health for a long time, and I used to lead a gut health clinic in the NHS, and I also put flowers and wild greens on all my food. So all my friends know me for that. So this project was just like super exciting for me. And I think the fact that it's called Diversity in Gardens as well really ties into the importance of diversity of plant foods that we eat to sort of feed our microbiome or our friendly bacteria, as people know. And it affects so many aspects of our health, everything from our immune health to our sort of digestion to our mental health. And so it's just it'll be a really exciting visual representation of the beauty that comes from diverse plants and how that can,
and
benefit
so
us.
that diversity of what we eat, that's really important to nourish our microbiome.
Yeah, people talk about 5 a day, and actually, there's increasing evidence that we should eat 30 plants a week. And it's about difference rather than just having the same fruit and veg every day. And so on this farm we're just spoiled because we have, we grow 5 or 6 different types of kale, we grow 6 or 7 different types of squash, so the variety in the vegetable produce. But then also, I think I'd probably quite regularly will have 30 plants in one meal because I put lots of little flowers and herbs on it, and not only do they provide all these benefits for our gut microbiome, but they're also really nutrient rich in terms of the polyphenols and the antioxidants. And also we eat with our eyes, and I think there's that sort of sensory pleasure in it as well.
There's something really lovely about eating edible flowers, isn't there? Whenever they come in my salad bags, I get so excited. And the kids are like, "Mum, why are you so excited?" Look how pretty they are! Like, they're so.
The other thing, just to say, I think, is that what I find interesting about Hannah's work is that when you bring children into the farm, into nature like that, they often, even if they have a very kind of particular diet and they don't like trying things, or they don't eat stuff like salads and things, they'll often really, once they see it growing, they'll start to relate to it and try things. And it's something about being in nature, and like I suppose in the old times, kids would have been foraging around with adults, learning what was safe and not safe to eat, and discovering that together, and gaining trust in nature. And it feels a bit like we've lost that connection, and in some ways I feel that's part of the excitement for me, is that could we do some microbiomes out of working around food, and finding out what's good for us, enjoying it, connecting to how do we know what's poisonous and what's not poisonous, and how and expanding the palate, actually expanding the whole sense of what we enjoy eating.
And I feel like gut health is something that's coming more and more within like the kind of general public's awareness, whereas before it might have been a small thing, but that Zoe thing that people are signing up to, or they have that patch on their arm, and I was like, oh, actually that's quite a mainstream thing, so it's great, isn't it, that more and more people are being aware of it.
This garden is for Bowel Research UK.
Okay.
So the whole thing about bowel cancer, colon and rectal cancer, etc., is increasingly also, I think, taking the gut biome into consideration. They're planning to do some research in this area, and we hope to be involved in that research.
That's really exciting.
I mean, again, with asylum seekers and refugees, and also children from poor backgrounds, these are groups of people who can really benefit from quality range of food. The asylum seekers who come here, they just love the food, don't they? And it's like they've lost the ability to get to it. And so there's a lot of interesting stuff to be done.
So when you say about the work with these people from the Chelsea Flower Show, the landscape, are they going to come down and help with the garden, or are you making it?
Yeah, well, to be fair, they're working day in, day out to actually build the garden. So we follow that. They're sculpturing the walls, they're growing all the plants, and they're advising us on certain flowers and plants that we can prepare. But they've got quite a large bunch of flowers that will be transported.
Oh, amazing! Will they come down, do you think?
They come they do a visit already.
Brilliant.
They're advising us. We're working with them. We're actually, that space has been slightly redesigned because they wanted more space. Because it felt, one of the landscapers said, you're creating a well-being garden and squeezing people into it. You need to relax this garden. He was right in a way. I think he was right, and we've now opened the borders a bit. Opened the hedgerow, and it gives more space for it to happen. So
that's really exciting. I'll have to come back once it's finished to have a look at the finished product.
31st of May.
31st of May
is a kind of picnic, a public picnic.
Oh, is it? Oh,
so
lovely.
So people can come and see what's happening.
Oh, brilliant. So well-being's obviously key to. I was about to say a lot of what you do, but it sounds like basically everything what you do at the Apricot Centre. And I know that you've mentioned that you're do a lot of work with adopted children, and you mentioned before about working with young people with anxiety. What do those things look like in practice, and what does it mean to be in an adoption support service?
Okay, there's quite a few questions.
Yeah, sorry, quite a few questions.
Where to start? I mean,
let's do the adoption, the work with adopted children first.
I'm also an adoptive father. I also have 2 adopted daughters, and also I spent my early years working in residential children's homes with looked after children. So for some reason I've kind of grown quite interested in the experience of young people who've had kind of quite adverse, difficult early years. Yeah. And I've kind of run 2 NHS services for adoption in East Anglia. We basically, adopted children often have things going on for them that don't quite hit the criteria of support from mental health services and things. So, like, if you have difficulty with your early attachments and early years, or it gets a bit hidden, it's not an obvious condition or sorts of that needs support. And so the government kind of decided to support adoptive families in particular, and sort of put some funding towards the adoption support fund, and that enables us to kind of individually bespoke look at what a young person needs, and that could be anyone from a 0-year-old up to a 24-year-old child, so to speak, because some adoption people can,
it's 0 to 25, isn't
it? A little bit. So and that, you know, we have a lot of creative therapists, art therapists, we have psychologists, we have body movement workers, we have a sensory integrator, we have a physiotherapist who does some sort of almost like non-verbal sensory work. Because one thing people don't understand sometimes is just the whole connection with the body and the sensory experience. It can lead to all sorts of trouble and developmental things, like difficulties in school and behavioural things, just because the child hasn't sort of grown into their own body in their early years. So we're quite interested in that. This garden is very focused on sensory experience and also on food and mood. So Hannah's work is also very much around food. So we build all of that into our work.
So it sounds like it's really diverse, the work, depending on the child or
it's
the young
diverse.
person that you're working
the funding
with.
Slightly restricts you on what you're allowed to do. And I would love it to be more diverse. And there are little troubles around that, because we can't always. Hannah can work in some capacities but not in others because of the
funding.
But that's the adoption work. But we also, Hannah helps to run these groups with a school in Torquay, who have children from quite challenging, a lot of poverty, and some of the children have been excluded from mainstream school, and they come to the farm in groups of maybe 5 or 6, we hope, generally, and the idea is that they're getting away from the school environment and having lots of food and sensory and nature-based activities, basically being in the mud and the rain. And that's a kind of because some of them aren't engaging with learning very well, and so it's can we do something to reduce their anxiety or help them sort of land and gain more of a sense of curiosity or learning or engage in a different way. So I think we've had some good successes, challenging, but we've had some good, really interesting outcomes from that and experiences.
Yeah, it's been amazing because we've worked with them over 6 months now, and the groups have shifted a little bit, but the difference in some of the young people has been remarkable. You know, very closed off initially, very sort of like not wanting to wear wellies, not wanting to be outside. And now we have them like splashing around in the mud, you know, going to the streams, I've had them foraging scarlet elf-cup mushrooms and wild garlic and frying them up and eating it and enjoying it. You know, it's been a real remarkable transformation as they slowly ease into being in these natural spaces and these wilder spaces. So it's there's something happening that seems to be having a positive effect.
That's incredible. And they're coming week on week, like
and some of the kids we do 2 sessions a week on a Monday and Friday. And quite a lot of them now are coming both days, saying, "Can I also go on Friday?" Even though initially it was supposed to be two groups, and they're sort of growing, and so that's a really
That's really exciting. It sounds like really rewarding work.
And we're being evaluated. We're having Health Innovation Southwest are helping us to evaluate that, sort of research it a bit.
Yeah.
Because I think over time we've sort of, you realise the subtleties of the work. So sometimes children need more individual attention. Sometimes they function well in a group.
Yeah.
There's all sorts of things about how to make that work. Yeah. So.
That sounds amazing. Yeah, it really is really exciting work. I'm aware that you're both on a real tight deadline today, so I want to talk a little bit more about that, but I think I'm going to move on just to say, if someone was listening to this and thinks, wow, like if someone local in Devon is thinking, the Apricot Centre is amazing, is there a way they can support or find out more? Do you take volunteers?
Yeah. Well, volunteers is complex, and it's like we love people's wish to support us, but the trouble with volunteering is it involves quite a lot of organisational work, and we find it often quite difficult to run that. So we actually do work with asylum seekers and volunteers, and we may have volunteer programmes in the future which are more coordinated. So keep a watch out. It's certainly, there's public events like on the 31st of May. There's this public picnic, and we have open farm events. Last year we did a bio blitz where we did a whole sort of community nature-based thing with people like finding moths and insects and bugs and lizards. And so we run things like that. So we love people to come and get involved. People buy local, organic, regenerative.
Do you sell it from the farm?
We sell it. We do box schemes. We sell it to the whole South Hams.
Oh really? Okay.
Yeah, and that really supports us, by the way, to have people, regular customers. Your food's high quality. We buy in, by the way, so that we have all year round supply. But we do increasingly produce almost most of the year round things that we sell. We have also eggs and meat and produce that we make from the.
Do you have animals on the farm?
Yeah, we have pigs, cattle, and chickens.
Okay, amazing. Because it's so big, obviously you can't see it all for it.
Yeah,
hub.
It extends into the fields a little bit. But yes, that's a great support to us, because of course the farm, and the thing is about, that's kind of about community resilience as well, like buying locally. It's good for your health, it's good for the community ecosystem, so to speak. We hope to be doing much more local marketing stuff, really supporting local markets to develop in the area as well. And I think there are all sorts of ways people can support, but unfortunately just turning up and volunteering is not always the easiest
But if
thing.
they go onto your website, they can have a look at the veg and upcoming public events.
There's a shop on there, an online shop, and it's quite a great range of stuff.
Yeah, brilliant. I'll go check it out. And it is great, isn't it, as you say, to be able to know that you're supporting a local business, and for that kind of the food miles and all of that and stuff, to be able to get it from just up the road. And
it's other local businesses, because we buy in produce like cheeses and ferments and all sorts and bread from the Almond Thief down the road. So you're supporting quite a lot of local businesses.
Which is really good. Is it, before we finish up, is there anything today that you'd like to talk about that we haven't covered? We've done a whistle-stop tour, but I think we have covered quite a lot.
I think the one thing I was going to say is that we really hope to work more with. We've got some relationship in Torbay with park fields, and there's this incredible place, like a garden on the edge of the bay, of the kind of seafront of Torbay and Paignton, and there are really interesting things happening there around working with the community, focus on young people, asylum seekers, other members, diverse groups of people in the community. And again, we hope that the Diversity in Gardens project will sort of work with those environments. The cookery side can come in, and again, enabling people to have more access with the land as well.
So are you developing your gardens over there in Torbay?
We are trying to get funding to develop that project. So
that'd be amazing. So it'd be like a satellite site.
Yeah, well, not really. Yeah, sort of more supporting that site to happen. Actually, supporting young people to have a forum where they can come up with their own ideas, design spaces, and this youth forum thing is really important to it. And then maybe use permaculture design. There's skateboard parks, there's BMX parks, there's beautiful walled gardens. And so those kind of things, a bit of outreach in a way, outreach, inreach. We want to be able to make that relationship with other areas, urban areas.
Yeah, it's a really good idea, Awesome. Well, that's really exciting. All right, well, finally, before I let you go, because I know you've got a big meeting. Actually, you've both got big meetings, haven't you, coming up? So we can have a whistle-stop last 3 questions. And the first one is, how do you relax? And I realise that as I say that, and you're both so busy, I'm not sure what the answer to that's going to be.
Such a good question.
I know.
Do you want to start?
Work on that. Yeah, definitely something I need to work on. But I think the way I relax is going out in nature, going for a walk, foraging, which is also part of my work. So it's kind of that strange thing to say that the way I relax is doing, I've just been very lucky. Very lucky.
Yeah, excellent.
Okay, so one way I relax, I find it a bit hard to relax, to be honest. But
I've got that impression. I've got
a bit of a stress issue, but I have a personality which is always driving and doing stuff, so I have to take responsibility for that. But I jump in the water. I go in the brook every single day, and I have done for 3 years. So
lovely.
Some regular cold winter, way through the winter. So that's a big one for me. Cold water swimming. I do a lot of. There's meditational stuff that I'm interested in, which is about, it's non-dual kind of. It's kind of interesting because I'm a psychotherapist and I'm trained in all these ways, but there's something that's really drawing me more and more, which is non-dual kind of awareness.
Okay.
So I would say, and that probably does. It's very relaxing at its depth.
Yeah.
So those, and then hanging out with family, eating food, that kind of stuff.
That kind of thing. Nice. And what are you reading or listening to right now? So music or books or?
I'm reading a book about eco-villages.
Oh, nice.
I'm involved in a big project where we're sort of kind of create an eco-village.
So you're doing your homework.
Doing my homework, but it's also very inspiring.
Oh, excellent.
So,
I've got like a big pile of books next to my bed, and I dip into them one after the other.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I've just been reading a lot of books about herbal medicine and tinctures and edible flowers, and I think this whole thing's got me kind of stirred up. So I'm just
really
thinking
excited.
about, what is this combination? What's that about?
Yeah.
And so I've got about 5 books all open up next to my bed, and I dip into them indiscriminately.
Okay.
I can lend you some more if
Oh,
you
thanks.
want.
It does. It sounds like
I'll just cuddle myself.
A new library.
And finally, why is being outdoors important to you?
Oh gosh, I don't know how to put it into words. It's just really just connects you to the seasons, to the plants and the other beings of the world, and it just kind of clears your head.
Yeah.
It is really important to me because I noticed that nowadays, if I don't go and be outside for quite a long time, it doesn't feel right to me. And I actually I've got this what do you call it, cold swimsuit thing for cold water swimming.
Oh, one of those dry road things, yeah.
And I go and sit out for an hour, 2 hours sometimes, just sitting outside in the cold, wind, rain, anything. Yeah. And there's just something about being out in it, and I feel very tuned. It makes me more tuned into what feels like it's going on in the bioregion. It feels good for me. It's a funny question. I feel there's more to that one, but
I know I've people always like, but it's a nice one to go away and think about. I think. I've not really answered it for myself yet either. I'm still
all I know is that I've got almost the opposite of agoraphobia. I get, if I'm inside too long, I get twitchy. I have to just get out.
Similar.
Even in the rain and the cold and the. Yeah.
I literally go outside with people and have meetings at Meadowbrooks down the road when it's sleeting. I get a beer and I say, "Do you mind if we sit outside?" and I haven't even got the right clothing on, and I'm freezing.
But it still needs to be outside. Yeah. I think it's the only place that stills my mind. That's the conclusion I've come to. It's just stops the chaos, isn't it? So brilliant. Thanks so much, guys, for your time. I know you're both really busy, so I do really appreciate it.
Thank you. It's very nice.
Thank you.
Nice
and thanks for the delicious meal as well, Hannah.
Thank
you. A massive thank you to Mark and to Hannah for joining me again to talk about what they do at the Apricot Centre and all the different strands of education and well-being and farm work that they do there. I really appreciated their time. I know how busy they were, and really enjoyed having that conversation with them. Hope that you enjoyed listening to it as well. This is the first episode of Series 5 of the Outdoors Group podcast, and it felt like a really lovely episode to start the series off to. If you enjoyed the episode, please do like the podcast, rate it, subscribe to it and share it with your friends so that more people can find us. We'll be back in a fortnight with another episode. And until then, thanks for listening.